So uranium stocks are down today with the overall market, but uranium prices are up. We're going to talk about why that is, and it's very odd for the summertime. There are buyers coming into the spot market raising the prices. We're going to talk about some economic data, why the market's dropped, what this means for uranium. We'll talk about other data for the US production. 1.2 billion pounds of uranium. We're going to look at some crazy numbers that look like Kazakhstan numbers. We're going to look at the Uranium Canyon mill that Anfield has. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the overall market, the outlook, where things look like they're going. And you guys, I'm here in thick or thin. We'll talk about swing and day trading uranium and some insight that I want to give everyone here. But thank you guys so much. Last video, we almost got 1,000 likes, but this video, I know we are going to be able to finally get the 1,000 likes. Please give your like number and let me know, did you end up selling or taking profits on uranium? Now today, uranium was trending and I just tweeted this out. It's pretty funny actually. I think a lot of it does have to do with Uranium One and Hillary Clinton and all these things, but UEC did get those assets back for America, so they're national heroes, okay? Now, some things I do want to touch on today. The first thing is, I do want to show you guys this data that I found. So the US does have 1.2 billion pounds of uranium, okay? This is around $100 a pound that they could actually mine this, that it would actually be feasible for them to get it out. Now I want to show you the way it looks. Now it's 40 million pounds at the peak during the end of the 70s into the 80s is what the US was mining. Now I want you to see here, these are 100 plus mines in the dark blue area. This is the US. Most of the stuff is desert. Now most of this is a lot like Kazakhstan. And guess what? A lot of these are starting to become ISR mines. And this is lower cost. I think that people are underestimating US production. Another nice little chart. This shows all of the uranium locations in the database. You can see there is a lot, 1.2 billion pounds, right? As I said before, I'll show you the data, almost 45 million pounds by the end of the 70s into the 80s. So I think this is going to come back. There is big upside. Now, if we look at the recent data, there was only 6,000 pounds mined in the second quarter of 2022 for US producers. Nothing, basically. We'll talk about the Uranium Canyon mill. So back in 2014, Anfield got this for dirt cheap, okay? This mill, it's one of 3 mills, right? And this is where it's located in Utah. And you can see that this is in a prime location. It looks like Kazakhstan, right? And it is near these hundreds of plus mines within the little vicinity. You can see right here in Utah, okay, right there. So it is one of 3 licensed US mills. And it also was built in the 80s. It commenced operation in 82 where we saw that peak. And then they went on care and maintenance. So it's really pretty much never been used, okay? And during the period, it produced and sold 27,000 pounds of U3O8. It's a brand new car. It's a barn find if you car guys know what I'm talking about, car guys and gals. So the surface stockpile, they also got some uranium there and I believe vanadium, a bunch of vanadium. But you can see that this area, I mean, it literally looks just like Kazakhstan. Now, why do I say that? Because I think that this could be another M&A target. Does not mean that I think Anfield is a good stock or anything. I do not own the stock anymore. I was disappointed with management. But I do report on these things. I know a lot of people that I know have the stock and big shareholders in the stock as well. So it is kind of interesting to see one of 3 mills in the US. And what I see coming that a lot of people probably don't, I see production numbers far beating this, 5-6 million pounds per year that they did back then. And even in the last uranium bull market, 4.5 million pounds a year. If it goes back to these numbers that we're seeing, these type of numbers, then these market valuations for these stocks could be big. Now, now in the 70s and the 80s, it wasn't uranium really producers producing. It was oil companies. And I found that out in my book about the uranium cartel. It was these big oil companies that churned uranium producers that just, went out, put all their money into all these mines and started pulling out tons and tons of uranium, right? In fact, like I said, 30 million pounds in 1977, and they were only importing just a little bit. So that is on my radar. So as I said yesterday, as time goes on, I think these assets that these companies know about, they could be M&A targets next. A lot of people were wondering about, UEX and why that was taken out so fast. It's good assets. It's very cheap. And that could be next. Now, another quick thing. Today is the birthday of Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. 64,000 drums worth of uranium, 57 million pounds. So happy birthday to them. They did get that record last year. Spot volume was 14.5 million pounds. It beat, and the last time it was actually that was 1996. So they our 1-year-old today. So wishing them a happy birthday. Thank you, Sprott, as well. It was a nice move last year. Let's see that again. Now, I'm sorry to show you this, but yes, the overall market dropped like crazy. Fed minutes was today. There's a bunch of things we can go over. Inflation is over 10.1%. It's at 10.1% in the UK, and it's probably going to continue to go up. However, uranium stock is down. Energy Fuels down 9%. UEC 7.5%. Now, these have bounced around. Even chemicals down 4%, okay? But you can see other stocks, SMR, those warrants are that's probably really what's happening there. Whew, not looking too good. But so far, our cup and handle got pretty wrecked, okay? But we've seen with uranium stocks, this, following this trend line, it is typical to have massive sell-offs and then just immediately 100% moves, We know this with uranium. I'm here even on the down days. It is disappointing, but I do want to talk about specifically some of my trades and what I've been doing with uranium. And I'm going to let it open here. It's not even going to be in the Discord. So I've been holding, UEC, and one reason I didn't sell the stock because I was wanting to swing trade it, right? And I held it back here, right? And we went on this massive move, okay? And I did not take profits. I think I did tell you guys in a video here on YouTube where I was up close to 50 something thousand and I didn't take profits, okay? And immediately after that, very quickly it dropped back down. So I was break even. You know what? I just held on. I said, there's a lot of catalysts coming. We could get these catalysts breaking out and it could do a big move. So I held on and, last week, not quite the highs we hit before, but, it did another big move. I did not buy down here again because I had already I was at, break even. So selling right here would have been another good move. Selling up here was another good move. And my wife did tell me, she knows that I'm a day and swing trader, and I let her know. I was like, it's doing good. The overall market's doing crazy. She told me to sell on both of these. I didn't listen to her, but maybe I should have let Salem trade it. She would have been a better trader than me. But that just tells you that this market, just how volatile it is. Now, I'm still doing really good for the year, and the market overall, the NASDAQ has recovered a lot. This is where we were in January, boom, dropped down, but it has recovered a lot. But if you look at it, on a bigger scale, it's not necessarily too bad. If we're looking at this on a weekly for the NASDAQ, it doesn't look too horrible, right? But, you never know. This is what it looks like long term, okay? This is during the dot-com bubble. This is the global financial crisis. This is the 19 drop, right, in 2020. And here we are now. Big recovery, right? Now, we did have this drop, and this is what uranium stocks did. So this is the volatility in them, and I will stick with my game plan this year is to day and swing trade, and I'm probably going to swing trade a lot more. I definitely want to be taking profits on the next big moves. There are catalysts coming up. Fall is coming, and there was some very odd action in the spot market today. Spot uranium is up, okay? And oil actually went up today. Now, this will show tomorrow because these are delayed. The spot price of uranium actually went up to 48.25 today. Went back up. It hadn't had volume in about 2 weeks. So it is a little odd. And I think I did check, and I believe it might be Cameco or Converton. So one of those are bidding. And I probably have a good idea why. We know we got refueling coming up. These prices are still very low. Inflation is still going up, okay? In the UK, United Kingdom, 10.1%. They're probably less manipulated than the US has been with their inflation numbers. Highest since 1982. So what happened in China? Well, something pretty positive. It turned a negative thing at the time into a positive. So China reconnects the nuclear reactor after shutdown due to damage. It is a little funny because at the time, I told you guys about this, France kind of called them out. They said that they had this small tiny leak, which was 0.01% of damaged rods, they said. And EDF basically was coming out during the time and was saying that their levels were a lot higher and they wanted to raise them. China wanted to raise them, and they were a little concerned at the time. But they did reconnect it after fixing it. But it is kind of funny that now you're having issues with the reactors in France. But it's just a water issue, obviously, and some corrosion in the pipes. It's not necessarily the fuel rods. Nothing's damaged. But it is kind of funny that this is going on. But it is nice to see them go back up. Now, what I've been reading is in the nuclear power in Germany, the government's still trying to backtrack on what they're saying, and they're still waiting on some results to keep the 3 plants up to see if there's going to be some issues like this, which is kind of very odd, right? We're in this volatile market. It is getting insane out there. And the way I'm just going to play this, I've really changed my uranium thesis, and it's US producers, obviously, but it's not to hold them crazy long term. Being heavy cash. And now it really is to day and swing trade these. And because of the volatility in these, just on the weekly basis, you can see the volatility. There is a lot of money for me to be made in those. Now, I did want to address this for all you Denison mine holders out there. I don't think it's a bad stock. Maybe you guys can comment below, but how did Denison actually stay on the New York Stock Exchange when its price was under $1? I know it's duly listed, but even John Quakes and I talked about that a couple years ago, and no one really seems to know, because I really haven't seen any rules that say dual listed companies are exempt from that just because of a market cap, because normally they have to do a reverse split to get the stock price up, get rid of some of those shares, because but a lot of people are very bearish on this stock after the fact that UEC is going to get those assets. I don't necessarily think it's a bad stock. I think that they're probably going to be out there looking for other assets. And near $1, I still think with the assets they have, they've got those JCU assets as well. They've got some very highest uranium grades in the world as well. So I know a lot of people I've heard, probably selling out of the stock. And being near $1 in a recession, it can be weary for a stock, especially if somehow those rules apply again for the company and they do have issues being listed on the New York Stock Exchange. But that was one of the reasons why I think it's seen a lot of volatility too. Normally the company that's not buying out the merger that we saw, they go up, right? Well, the overall market just brought everything down, okay? But it does not mean it's the end of the world. We see the volume in spot coming up. We see Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. They're very aware of this. Are they going to start to buy up again and use the rest of their money to buy up? And our funds going to start to jump in? I believe a lot of big funds out there are still saying that they think commodities are going to run up really high. And if we look at, uranium stocks in the past month, they're still up. Top 25, 7 to 33%. We're still up. They're still up. Now, that's why the swing trading and probably day trading for me is going to be the best bet. Now, I am a long-term investor, but with the market the way it is, I just got to be real with you guys. It is just holding it. I lose all my gains if I do that. So on these next big moves, I'm going to be very, very active. That's 6 figures on just a few trades on those swing trades that I could have collected that I let just slip away. And that really sucks, especially for this year, because, I'm really competitive in this year and I really want to do well, but that's just the way things are going right now. Now, this is the view of the overall market, guys. I mean, when the overall market looks like this, and even energy minerals, they were up higher earlier in the day. Some of them, but even those dropped, even with oil up. This is just where we're at right now, guys. But with uranium, we know the 50% moves happen all the time. 100% upsides on a lot of these. Some of these are getting crazy. Standard uranium, 77% down since its 52-week high. And 70-something percent, what is that? 233% upside back to its 52-week high. But as I'm saying, I'm not telling anyone to buy any uranium stocks. Myself, I'm going to be day and swing trading them like crazy very soon. Thanks again for the support on the channel. Comment your like number below. And are you sold out 100% of uranium stocks and are you ready to day and swing trade them? Or are you a long-term investor? I just want to know that. Thank you again, guys. Just relax, go have some fun. It's still summertime. Fall is coming, winter is coming, and we all know what's coming. And it's going to be a very volatile ride. And I look to be out there in the surf with you all, especially if you guys are trading, swing trading. There's a link in the description below. There's a lot of good people out there doing very good in the Discord. So thank you again.